Hi, and welcome to On the Record News. It's Wednesday, the 8th of February. I'm Alina Snisarenko.
And I'm Olivia Weens. These are the stories we're following this week. An expert on safety audits says TMU needs to be transparent about what's going on in terms of safety on campus. Tara Hodgkinson teaches criminology at Wilfrid Laurier University in Waterloo. She is critical of the decision announced by TMU President Mohammed Lashmi that a safety audit of Kerr Hall will remain private and unpublished. Professor Hodgkinson says the entire point of doing safety audits is to provide information back to the community.
TMU students are feeling the pinch at the checkout counter as the cost of food continues to rise. Ontario's Consumer Price Index for last year's shows the price of store-bought food has increased by 21% when compared to 5 years earlier. And the good times are over for students who were enjoying the price freeze on many no-name products at Loblaw for the past few months. The company ended the price freeze just over a week ago.
Attention all pub goers, the campus pub has a new name. Out with the Ram and the Rye, and in with the Met. No, not the world-famous opera in New York, but the pub across the street from this very studio.
The therapy dogs are back, or will be. The good people at St. John's Ambulance will be bringing their sweet, furry friends back to campus, starting next Monday. And every week after that, from 1 to 2 o'clock, they'll be in Pod 60. Everyone is invited.
Warming centers. In the occasionally bitter cold of a Toronto winter, they can make the difference between life and death for a homeless person. City Council has been grappling with whether warming centers should be available to those who need them, not just when the temperature drops to 15 below or colder, but 24 hours a day throughout the season. Today, they voted. Abby Hughes has the story.
Toronto City Councillors did not accept the Board of Health's recommendation to keep warming centers open 24 hours a day. In January, the Board of Health passed a motion urging the city to provide around-the-clock access to warming centers. Instead, the city called on the provincial and federal governments for more funding and help to provide more shelter spaces. Councillors also moved to identify one available location each where a warming center could potentially be opened. They also requested Mayor John Tory and city staff reach out to faith leaders in Toronto and explore the potential for a partnership where churches and mosques were used temporarily as warming centers. Yesterday and today, city councillors both for and against opening these centers around the clock rehashed their concerns before the vote.
We should not build a city where people have to live in such an undignified way.
A report to council estimates it would cost $400,000 a month to run a single 24/7 warming center out of a city-owned building. Shelter, Support and Housing Administration General Manager Gordon Tanner said centers open around the clock should be equipped with shower and kitchen facilities. Still, some insisted that even basic shelter is better than nothing during the winter months. Advocate Kim Jackson, who attended City Hall yesterday, said she's not surprised at the lack of action.
They've already sent their message pretty loud and clear that, they ask a lot of questions, but they're not getting to the meat of the issue. Opening them for -15 is ridiculous. They should be open all the time given the lack of shelter capacity.
As of February 7th, warming centers open only when the city's medical officer of health issues an extreme cold weather alert. An alert is only issued if Environment and Climate Change Canada forecasts temperatures at -15 degrees Celsius or lower. Centers open at 7 p.m. the day an alert is issued and close at noon the day an alert ends. Dr. Stephen Huang is a physician and research scientist at MAP Center for Urban Health Solutions. He says being out in the cold leads to a range of negative health effects, including an increased risk of respiratory illnesses, foot injuries, and frostbite.
Long before they develop the medical complications that cause them to show up in the emergency department, they're suffering adverse consequences.
He, like a number of other public health experts, would have liked to see council keep warming centers open at all times.
In a way, we've haven't addressed the underlying problem until we've had a cascading series of events where the lack of housing results in lack of shelter beds, results in a need for warming centers.
Since the Board of Health motion last month, calls from advocates and healthcare providers to keep centers open 24/7 have only grown. Demonstrators gathered outside City Hall on Monday, demanding the city invest in people rather than policing.
With recent cuts to drop-in programming and an extreme shortage of shelters and warming centers, it's really clear that there's nowhere for people to go.
They called for the city to reallocate money from the police budget to housing and shelter concerns, including 24/7 warming centers.
Every single person, if you're in the working, any of the lower classes, you're just one shitty day from needing that yourself.
Now, Shelter Support and Housing Administration is working on a report to the Economic and Community Development Committee. Because of a motion introduced today, SSHA will include the feasibility of providing 24/7 warming centers in that report as well. For On the Record, I'm Abby Hughes.
Worried that Netflix might kick you off of your ex's account? Well, reporter Khadija Osman was wondering about that too. So she asked students, what are they going to do if the streaming giant restricts password sharing?
Currently using someone else's Netflix account, listen up. Netflix has a new policy that is making it way more difficult to share passwords with anyone outside of your household. I'm on TMU campus to see what students think of this new change.
My name's Anna, and I'm in first year.
My name is Leah, and I'm also in first year.
Hi, my name is Elijah.
Do you have your own Netflix account?
I actually share one with my cousin. We have like one screen for my family, and then their family has another screen, and then my cousin has another screen on there.
Yeah, I do.
Or do you let anyone share?
It's actually on my on my bell, so I just go on like cable and then turn on the Netflix and all that. So yeah, my family shares it and all that.
Do you know about the new Netflix policy?
I do know about it. Yes, I've heard about this new policy. So we're not really sure what we're gonna do if it changes and everything. So
who's making the new account? You or your cousin?
Could be my cousin. Honestly, we might just ditch Netflix altogether if they're doing that.
I don't really let anyone use my account because I can't remember the password, and my dad takes care of all of that. But if I could let people on it when they asked, I would.
Netflix acknowledged, obviously made that famous tweet over 6 years ago about sharing a password. So they obviously acknowledged that sharing passwords was pretty good. And I guess in terms of their new password policy, it's definitely not going to help their generate a lot of revenue. I know there's a lot of people boycotting Netflix. So I think it would be nice if they can kind of change the password policy again, and it's just keep it the way it is.
I'm Khadija Osman. Back to you in the studio.
Looking for ways to get involved in and around campus? Here's Alexandra Hollick with the Roundup.
Winter Reading Week might be around the corner, but campus events are still booming. Here's what you can do this week at TMU. We keep hearing about a looming recession, and the Ted Rogers Student Society wants to help you through it. Find out how to navigate the job market and inflation in tonight's info session, starting at 6 o'clock in the TRSM building. And yes, there will be free food for those of us on a student budget. As Black History Month continues, 2 cabinet ministers from the federal and provincial levels of government will come together to discuss the ongoing fight for women's rights. Marcy Ian, Canada's Minister for Women and Gender Equality and Youth, and Charmaine Williams, Ontario's Associate Minister of Women's Social and Economic Opportunity, will participate in the discussion in the Sears Atrium at 2 p.m. tomorrow. And later tomorrow evening, catch a film screening of Mina Shum's 9th Floor at Pod 250, starting at 5:30 p.m. For all of our sports fans out there, the TMU Bold men's volleyball team will play the Waterloo Warriors starting at 7 p.m. And on Saturday, the men's and women's basketball teams take on MAC at the MAC. The women play the McMaster Marauders at 6 p.m. and the men play at 8 p.m. That's a snapshot of what's going on at TMU this week. For On the Record, I'm Alexandra Hollick.
Alexandra. And looking ahead for events off campus, we've got you covered. The Raptors will play the San Antonio Spurs tonight at 7:30 at the Scotiabank Arena. This is the team's first home court advantage after 7 away games.
Planning on some late night travel next week? Be prepared for early TTC closures on Line 1 from Osgood to King Stations. That's Monday through Thursday. Subways will stop running at 11 p.m.
Calling all pizza lovers, tomorrow is National Pizza Day, and a local Toronto spot is giving away free pizza. Head over to the city's west side and visit Pizzeria Body Alley for a free slice and a drink.
That's it for today's show. For more stories from our OTR newsroom, please have a look at our website. That's ontherecordnews.ca, or pick up a copy of our latest print issue on campus. I'm Olivia Weens.
And I'm Alina Snisarenko. See you back here next Wednesday.